All was normal initially, Trump smiling, Ivanka composed. But seated opposite them, Jasmine Crockett, poised to reveal a secret so explosive that by the show's end, nobody would ever be the same again, least of all Trump and Ivanka. The studio lights blazed into life, bathing the stage in warm gold. The cameras rolled, the audience applauded, and into the room strode Donald Trump. He made himself known. He didn't step in so much as he commanded. With a sweep of his hand and that characteristic smile, he absorbed the cheering like a man who felt the night belonged to him. The camera zoomed in on him, taking every step, every movement. Trump straightened his suit, raised his chin, and sported the kind of swagger that had taken him through many rallies, speeches, and interviews. At his side, Ivanka moved silently and, poised, elegant, her smile irreproachably placed, as if she had practiced it. She sat, folding her legs demurely, every inch the image of serenity and composure. The host leapt in expansively, keen to thaw the ice. "Mr. Trump, tonight millions are watching. You faced so many challenges over the years. Tell us what keeps you going. What's your source of strength?" It was the perfect question for Trump. He leaned toward the microphone, eyes sweeping the audience. His voice came out strong, steady, almost rehearsed. "Family. My family keeps me going. They've always been my strength. Ivanka, Barron, all of them. The most loyal, the most amazing, the best anyone could ask for." The crowd broke into applause again. Trump's smile widened. He thumped the desk lightly, nodding along as if to say, "See, that's the truth." Ivanka's smile didn't budge. She looked at him, then back to the crowd, her face unreadable. To the cameras, it looked like a proud daughter supporting her father. But under the heavy lights, her stillness carried something else, something the audience couldn't yet name. And then there was Jasmine Crockett. She sat on the opposite side of the stage, quiet, patient. She didn't clap when the audience clapped. She didn't nod when Trump praised his family. Her eyes, sharp and steady, stayed locked on him like she was waiting for the perfect moment. Trump, however, was in his element. He leaned back, enjoying the rhythm of his own words. "When you're a leader, you have to be strong. People look at your family to know who you are. And my family, my children, my loyalty, my values, that's what defines me." The audience clapped again, and Trump gave his familiar hand wave, the kind that said, "Case closed." But in truth, the case wasn't closed. It hadn't even begun. Because while Trump spoke with pride, Jasmine Crockett sat silently with a different kind of confidence. She wasn't impressed. She wasn't moved by the speech. She knew something no one else in the room was prepared to hear, and she wasn't going to keep it hidden much longer. The host glanced at Jasmine, sensing her silence, but kept the spotlight on Trump a little longer. It was easy television. Trump talking about family, the audience eating it up, Ivanka smiling like everything was perfect. Yet the perfect picture had cracks, small ones invisible to most. The way Ivanka avoided eye contact when her father said Barron's name. The way her fingers tightened against her chair. And above all, the way Jasmine's calm expression seemed to say, "I know the truth." The energy in the studio began to shift. The applause softened, attention, quiet but heavy, started to settle in the room. The audience didn't know why, but they could feel it. Something was building. Trump, of course, didn't notice. He was too busy painting his story, too caught up in his own words. He didn't see Jasmine's stare, or Ivanka's tight smile, or the way the crowd's excitement had slowly turned into anticipation. He kept going. "America needs strong families, and nobody has a stronger family than mine." And right there in that very moment, Jasmine leaned forward slightly, just enough to signal that she was ready. The audience didn't know what was coming. Trump didn't know what was coming. Ivanka probably did, which is why she stayed so perfectly still. But Jasmine knew in the bombshell she was about to drop would turn that proud speech into the spark that lit a fire no one could put out. The applause was still fading when Jasmine Crockett finally leaned forward. Until now she had been silent, her hands resting calmly on the table, her eyes locked on Trump. The host was about to move to the next topic when Jasmine's voice cut through the air, steady and sharp. "Mr. Trump," she started, not raising her voice, but with a tone that commanded attention. "You speak a lot of strength, a lot of honesty, and about how your family makes you who you are. But the thing is, that story doesn't sound as honest as you claim." The studio fell silent. Nobody expected her to talk like that. Not on live television. Trump blinked, taken aback for a moment, but quick to regain his footing. He leaned, "Excuse me. My family's the strongest. Everyone knows it. Don't start with nonsense." But Jasmine didn't flinch. She didn't back down. Her calmness was almost unnerving. "See, that's exactly it. You present one picture to the public. The perfect father, the perfect children, the perfect loyalty. But what if the truth is different? What if you've been hiding something very real, something about your own family?" The audience shifted in their seats. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Ivanka froze. Her smile remained, but her eyes darted toward her father for the first time. Then quickly back to Jasmine. Trump forced a laugh, waving his hand dismissively. "Ridiculous fake. She's making things up. Total garbage." But Jasmine leaned in closer, her voice even steadier now. "I'm not making anything up. And I wouldn't say this if I didn't have proof. The public deserves the truth, Mr. Trump. They deserve to know when a leader is hiding something this big, especially when it involves family and the image you sell as your strength." The host looked stunned, caught between keeping control of the show and letting the tension unfold. The camera zoomed in on Trump's face, red, tight-jawed, his usual confidence cracking around the edges. And then Jasmine asked the question that froze the entire room. "Why don't you tell them who Barron's real mother is?" The silence that followed was heavy, almost unbearable. The audience gasped audibly, some covering their mouths, others whispering furiously to each other. The sound of shuffling chairs filled the studio. Trump slammed his hand on the desk, his voice rising. "How dare you? That is a disgusting lie. You don't know what you're talking about. Shameful, absolutely shameful." But the more he shouted, the calmer Jasmine became. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue back. She just watched him, letting his rage fill the space. And then softly but firmly she said, "It's not a lie. It's not gossip. It's fact. And I have the documents to prove it." The audience gasped again, this time louder. The host leaned forward, hands clasped, unsure whether to intervene or let it continue. Ivanka's hands gripped the arm of her chair so tightly, her knuckles turned white. She didn't move, didn't speak, but her stillness told its own story. Trump shook his head, trying to laugh it off, but the laugh sounded hollow. "She's crazy, totally crazy. Nobody believes that." But the room wasn't with him anymore. The audience wasn't clapping now. They weren't smiling. They were watching Jasmine, and Jasmine knew she had them. She didn't need to scream. She didn't need to match Trump's volume. Her power was in her composure, in the quiet weight of her words. "The truth isn't always comfortable, Mr. Trump," she said, her voice cutting clean through the tension. "But when you hide the truth, when you build power on a false picture, that's when people deserve to know, and tonight, they will." The cameras caught every detail. Trump's red face, Ivanka's frozen stare, Jasmine's unwavering calm. The studio no longer felt like a stage. It felt like a courtroom, and Jasmine was presenting the first piece of her case. The suspense in the air was unbearable. Everyone knew she was about to drop something big. The only question was, what exactly would she reveal next? The air in the studio had changed. Moments ago, it was filled with claps and cheers for Trump's proud words about family. Now it was filled with something else entirely. Tension so thick it seemed you could almost touch it. Trump leaned forward, his face red with anger, his hands slamming down on the desk once more. "This is outrageous. You think you can sit there and attack my family on live TV? You're a disgrace, Jasmine. A disgrace." His voice thundered through the room, but the audience wasn't applauding anymore. They weren't cheering. They were watching. Some leaned forward, eyes wide, while others covered their mouths, whispering to the person next to them. Jasmine sat perfectly still, her calmness cutting through Trump's fury. She tilted her head slightly, almost as if she were watching a gay child throw a tantrum. Then she said softly, "The louder you yell, the clearer it becomes that you don't want this truth to come out." That line landed like a hammer. The crowd reacted with a ripple of gas. Trump shifted uncomfortably, looking around as though the audience had betrayed him. Then Ivanka finally moved. Her voice, usually calm and controlled, carried a tremble. "This is nonsense, absolute nonsense. My father has always told the truth about our family. How dare you even suggest something so vile? She leaned toward Jasmine, her eyes burning. You're only doing this to embarrass us. You don't care about the truth. You just want attention. But Jasmine didn't take the bait. She kept her voice low, measured like a surgeon making precise cuts. No, Ivanka, this isn't about embarrassing anyone. This is about accountability. When a leader hides something so big, something that could change how people see him, the public deserves to know. This isn't about me. It's about honesty. Trump interrupted, jabbing a finger in Jasmine's direction. You're lying. You're trying to destroy my family. You think you can come here with your fake documents and smear us? It won't work. Nobody believes you. But again, the room told a different story. The audience wasn't booing Jasmine. They weren't clapping for Trump. They were silent, waiting, hungry to see what Jasmine would do next. Ivanka tried again, her voice sharper now, her polished smile gone. You don't understand the harm you're causing. Families deserve privacy. Children deserve protection. Dragging Barron into this is disgusting. For the first time, Jasmine's expression softened. She nodded slowly as if acknowledging Ivanka's plea. Then she replied with quiet firmness. You're right, children do deserve protection. But this isn't about Barron. This is about the lies told around him. When a child's life is used as a shield to protect a politician's image, that's when the truth matters most. The audience murmured again, this time louder. Some even clapped softly, not in celebration but in recognition of Jasmine's composure. Trump pounded the desk one more time, his voice shaking with rage. You think people care about this? They don't. They care about strength, about leadership. Nobody cares about your fake drama. Jasmine leaned back in her chair, her calmness almost chilling against his fury. She looked him straight in the eyes and said, if nobody cares, then why are you so afraid? The room erupted with gasps. Even the host couldn't hide the shock on his face. Trump froze for a second, unable to answer, his mouth opened, then closed, his usual quick comebacks. Nowhere to be found. Ivanka, pale now, reached out to place a hand on her father's arm, trying to steady him, but her hand trembled as it touched him. She knew what was coming. She could feel the weight of the storm. Jasmine was about to unleash. Jasmine turned slightly toward the audience, her calm voice carrying across the studio. The truth is uncomfortable. It shakes the ground beneath powerful people. But the truth is also simple. And tonight, everyone watching deserves to hear it. Backed by evidence no one can deny, the audience held their breath. The camera zoomed closer. The host leaned in. Trump gripped the edge of the desk so tightly. His knuckles turned white. Ivanka sat frozen, her eyes locked on Jasmine, silently pleading for her not to go further. But it was too late. Jasmine had the room, the moment, and the power. And she was only seconds away from dropping the proof that would shatter everything. The studio was silent, not the kind of silence you hear when people are bored, but the kind that makes your skin tingle. Everyone was waiting. The audience, the cameras, the host, even Trump and Ivanka, seemed to freeze for a split second, unsure of what Jasmine would do next. Then, with slow, steady movements, Jasmine reached under the desk. Her hand returned, holding a thick manila folder. She placed it gently in front of her, as if the folder itself carried more weight than anything Trump had said. All evening, the host's eyes widened. He leaned closer, whispering, "Are those documents?" Jasmine didn't answer him directly. She kept her eyes on Trump and Ivanka. Her voice was calm, but sharp enough to cut through the heavy air. You accuse me of lying. You accuse me of fabricating stories. But I don't speak without proof. And right here in my hands is evidence. Trump immediately jumped in, his voice booming. Fake. It's all fake. Don't believe a word she says. It's all made up. Another witch hunt. Another disgusting smear attempt. But his shouting only made Jasmine's stillness more powerful. She slowly opened the folder, the sound of paper brushing against paper, echoing louder than his voice. The audience leaned forward, straining to see. Jasmine pulled out a stack of papers and held them up for the cameras. These are not rumors. These are not opinions. These are documented records. Legal papers, hospital records, DNA reports, all pointing to one truth that has been hidden for years. Trump slammed his hand on the desk. Lies, those are doctored. You can make anything up these days. Photoshop, fake signatures, fake DNA. This is garbage. But Jasmine didn't flinch. She turned toward the cameras, raising her voice just enough for the entire audience at home to hear every word clearly. These documents are verified. They have been cross-checked, signed and notarized. This isn't gossip. This is and the fact is this Ivanka Trump is Barron's real mother. The room exploded. Gasps filled the air so loud they drowned out the host's attempt to regain control. The audience members clutched their mouths, some shaking their heads, others whispering to each other in disbelief. Trump stood up, pointing a finger at Jasmine, his face redder than ever. How dare you? This is an attack on my family, on my children. You should be ashamed of yourself. Shut her mic off. Shut it off right now. But the mic stayed on. The cameras stayed rolling. Ivanka, pale as a ghost, sat frozen. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. Her eyes darted toward the folder, then back to Jasmine. She looked like she wanted to deny it, to fight back. But something held her still. It was the weight of the documents. The host tried again to step in. Miss Crockett, this is an extraordinary claim. But Jasmine cut him off, her voice calm and unwavering. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And tonight, I brought it. These papers show the timeline, the medical proof, and the legal signatures. Trump's story about his family isn't what he says it is. And the people deserve to know. The audience gasped again. Some even clapped, not out of joy, but out of shock that someone had dared to confront Trump with this level of boldness. Trump, now trembling with rage, shouted, "This is illegal. You'll pay for this. You and everyone who spreads these lies will regret it." But Jasmine didn't even look at him anymore. She turned back to the cameras and spoke directly to the viewers watching at home. This isn't about destroying anyone. It's about truth. Leaders cannot ask for trust while hiding their deepest secrets. If we are to hold power accountable, then no lie, no matter how personal, can be protected. The studio was chaos, Trump yelling, Ivanka silent. The host overwhelmed, the audience buzzing like a storm. But Jasmine sat calm, her papers still in her hands, her message hanging heavy in the air. The truth was no longer whispered. It was right there on live TV, for the entire world to see. And nothing could put it back in the box. The studio had become a storm. Trump's voice thundered across the stage, demanding the cameras be cut. Ivanka sat frozen, her silence louder than his rage. The host stammered, trying to wrestle control back. But the night no longer belonged to him. It belonged to Jasmine Crockett. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The folder in her hand spoke louder than any argument. The audience felt it. The viewers at home felt it, the weight of truth, pressing down like a hammer. And then in the middle of the chaos, Jasmine leaned into her microphone. Her tone was calm, steady, but every word carried power. This is not about humiliating a family. This is not about private drama. This is about accountability. Because when leaders lie about their most personal truths, they show us they are willing to lie about anything. And if they can manipulate their own story, how can the public trust them with the nation's story? The words cut through the shouting like a knife. Trump slammed his fist on the desk again. But fewer people were listening. The audience's attention had shifted. They were hanging on Jasmine's every syllable. She held up another page from the folder, tapping it lightly. These documents show what was hidden. But beyond this secret, it's the act of hiding itself that matters. Concealment is power. By controlling the narrative, leaders protect themselves from scrutiny. They protect their image, their money, their influence. And the longer the lie stands, the stronger it becomes. That is why exposure matters. The host finally stopped trying to interrupt. His face, pale and stunned, mirrored the feeling of the audience. There was no stopping this. Jasmine had taken command of the night. She turned toward the cameras, speaking directly to the millions watching. Ask yourselves this. Why do politicians hide these truths? Why go to such lengths to bury family ties, rewrite personal histories, and silence anyone who questions them? The answer is simple. They fear scandal. They fear losing control. They fear the people finding out that the image they sell is not the life they live. For a moment the room was silent again. Even Trump, red-faced and trembling, had run out of words. His anger was still boiling, but he couldn't outshout the weight of what Jasmine was saying. She continued, her voice stronger. Now when secrets like this are hidden, it's not just about family privacy. It can affect legal matters, inheritance, custody, taxes. It can affect political decisions. It can even be used as leverage behind closed doors. And every time a truth is buried, public trust weakens. That is why exposure matters. Not for gossip, not for headlines, but for accountability. The audience began to murmur again, not with gasps this time, but with nods. Some were even clapping softly, the message finally sinking in. Jasmine set the papers back into the folder and folded her hands on top of it. I know the risks. Speaking out against powerful people comes with threats. It comes with legal battles. It comes with attempts to ruin your name. But I believe truth outweighs fear. And if we are ever going to demand honesty from those who lead us, we cannot allow them to bury their lies beneath polished speeches and perfect smiles. She paused, letting the silence stretch just long enough for the weight of her words to settle. Then she looked straight into the camera one last time. So I'll leave you with this question. If a leader hides something as personal, as monumental as this, what else are they hiding from you? The audience went quiet again. No claps, no gasps, just the heavy stillness of people, realizing they had heard something they could not unhear. Trump stood glaring, fists clenched, his face a storm of fury. Ivanka kept her eyes on the floor, her stillness speaking louder than denial ever could. The host, lost for words, finally whispered, "We'll be right back." But the cameras had already captured what mattered. The lie was broken. The proof was on the table, and Jasmine Crockett's question now belonged to the viewers at home.